So, Jujutsu Kaisen apparently has a sequel? And it's about aliens. I'll bite. Yeah, I did not think that this story could get any stranger and more fantastical, but here we are seeing Mr. Gege Akutami do it again. Although to be 100% transparent here, firstly, make sure you leave a like. It helps these videos out a bunch, but secondly, I always thought that if we were going to get a sequel to Jujutsu Kaisen, we'd continue the story post Sukuna and see maybe a war between the three major clans or any of the other leftover threads from the original story. However, Modulo, I think that's how you say it, goes in a completely different direction. We're still continuing the story post King of Curses, obviously, but as mentioned, aliens are now a thing. They're called Samurians, and they've taken an interest in Earth, mainly Japan. Because, I mean, who doesn't? In all actuality, though, there are subsequent reasons given as to why they chose Japan that are explained within the story, but really the main one is, and for those who don't remember, that's where the majority of Jujutsu sorcerers exist in this world. And the Samurians, or Samuri, but I'm gonna mispronounce this word like 1,000 times throughout this video, so that's just my bad. I want to get that out of the way right now. I don't know how to say this. So the aliens can manipulate cursed energy in a very similar way. So with their curiosity piqued, they've sent, I believe, an undercover inspector called this, or Maru for short. We'll come back to him later though, because the main characters of this story need some attention. For Modulo, we are following the journey of the Okotsu siblings. Tsurugi and Yuka are the grandchildren of Maki and Yuta, and side note, as a massive Yuta fan, it brings an immense smile to my face to see the way his life panned out in the end. As of this moment, we're unaware of the fates of the previous main characters of JJK. So for right now, I'm going to say that Gege gave this man the best conclusion out of any character he's written, and I utterly adore just how instrumental the concept of love played into his story the entire way through, and how ultimately that was the very thing that took him out in the end. The loss of Maki due to old age sapped his strength until he passed away as well. To get back on track though, these new Okotsu main characters, while not bad, have nowhere near the same instant charm and lovability as Yuji, which is why the aforementioned Maru stands out so much, because he is essentially the replacement or stand-in for that archetype of character we had before. He's sporadic, innocent, funny, and very strong-willed. He actually reminds me so much of Yuji that I feel like there's a deeper reasoning behind this creative choice outside of wanting a certain archetype of character for the trio. And when I put my tinfoil hat on, there's even more credence to this line of thought when you look back at how the original Jujutsu Kaisen manga ended. And to be more specific, how the quote-unquote ending of Sukuna's character played out in chapter 271. Now, this video has already been kind of packed to the brim with spoilers, and I don't really know why you'd be watching a video about the sequel to JJK if you haven't finished its predecessor. But nevertheless, if you don't want to know about what I'm about to talk about, this is your chance to back out before it's too late. Get the hell out of here! For those who have stayed though, in chapter 271 we see Mahito and Sukuna have a short conversation in a sort of ethereal passageway for the circulation of souls, during which we see the King of Curses in a much more humble and reflective state than ever before. He admits that his supposed nature was nothing more than a choice he had made about how to live his life, and that if given a chance to live again, maybe he'll choose a different path. That alone is not enough for me to take the leap to say that Maru is now the reincarnated version of Ryomen Sukuna. However, there is another piece to this puzzle. Sukuna, as most manga readers should know, had a twin brother whom he devoured in the womb to avoid starvation. This twin's soul survived and was reincarnated, eventually residing in Yuji Itadori's grandfather. You know who else has a twin? Maru. So, since the idea of souls carrying on to the next life is a very present concept in JJK, and has already happened with inside the Sukuna family tree, it is very much within reason to assume that Maru and his brother Cross house the souls of Sukuna and his twin, Wasuke Itadori. Why they would be aliens and why Wasuke seemingly is evil this time around, I have no idea. But the connectivity is too apparent for me not to run with this current theory, at least for now. And as far as the other aliens that have showed up, like the one that looks like Master Tengen and the Sukuna wannabe, I'm like 99% sure those are new characters. Although I'm also sure that there is something behind the decision to make those characters look so similar to the previous ones we've seen with inside JJK. But that could just be for the sake of familiarity, or because cursed energy works the same way over there as well. Only time will tell at this point. But anyway, with the possibility of Sukuna and his twin being back in this sequel, I wanted to talk about the likelihood of Yuji Itadori also returning in Modulo. As I said at the beginning of the video though, as of this current moment in time, we are unaware of his status inside the story. It does not appear that he's actively taking down cursed users or cursed spirits anymore, or working for the organization interacting with aliens. Because I mean, if he was, the guy that defeated the 1,000-year-old monster that not even Gojo Satoru could put down would probably be the first person they call to deal with some aliens. But it has been stated that this sequel takes place 68 years after the events of the Culling Games, and Yuji was 17 then, I believe. So if my math is mathing, that would make him around 85 years old. Bro might be in the retirement home or 6 feet under. Jokes aside though, if he is alive, I do expect an appearance and for him to have some involvement. He may be old, but his body was biologically engineered by Kenjaku to be a perfect vessel for Sukuna, giving him supernatural physical strength from birth. Yuji did also, before the events of the final battle in the original manga, absorb all of Kenjaku's other experiments, making him even more enhanced. So honestly, his age really shouldn't play that much of a factor when it comes to his strength. But again, if he was alive or a part of the organization, he would have showed up in like chapter 1. So I'm not going to have any expectation that he will appear. The same, by the way, goes for Nobara and Megami. Neither of them have enhanced bodies. Megami's soul went through a lot back in the battle between Gojo and Sukuna, and Nobara got half of her face blown off when she was like 16. So I imagine they're both long gone. Their kids, though, who knows? Megami kind of had some semblance of a relationship by the end of Jujutsu Kaisen, and Nobara really didn't have anybody. But it was hinted at in chapter 271.5, though, that Yuji ended up getting together with Yuki Ozawa, the girl that had a crush on him in junior high. So maybe they have a kid who will appear in upcoming chapters. But in conclusion, Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, while still in the preliminary stages of getting its feet grounded, has introduced some really fun ideas to this world. If you're not into aliens because that's, for whatever reason, the direction most shonen seem to go in whenever they craft a sequel for their story, I still think you should give it a chance. The quality writing that I have come to expect and love from Gege is very much present in this manga, and you can see the groundwork being laid for some interesting revelations and twists to come in the future. It'll be interesting to see how the role of the aliens plays out as the story continues. Do they actually want a war? They supposedly have someone on their side that rivals the strength of Ryomen Sukuna, and according to the acting Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sami, someone on that level could quite easily take over all of Japan. If Cross is the reincarnated soul of Wasuke Itadori, why does he appear to be the evil twin this time around? I am very, very intrigued in seeing how things are going to play out and if the Okotsu siblings can handle what's in store. Anyways, with all that said, that is going to do it for this one. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with the notifications on. And while you're down there commenting, let me know, are you going to check out Modulo, or are you just out of it because aliens are just never going to be your thing, no matter how differently or how uniquely or just how it's done in general? Type away, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody!